Good evening. Hi. Welcome to Oakland County Community Mental Health Authority. My name is Francisco Gambo, and I work for Oakland County CMH. I'm a community liaison here. I'm very, very excited to see such a wonderful turnout. This is a very important topic, and I'm sure one that you have all been following very closely. So it's finally here, and it's very exciting to have Scott, who's from the Department of Treasury, here to speak to us about the ABLE accounts. Before I introduce Scott, I want to just do a couple of quick housekeeping. Behind those double doors are the bathrooms and also a drinking fountain. So just keep that in mind, since this is probably an unfamiliar building for many of you. So again, welcome to Oakland County CMH. Scott was named the Division Director in August 2015 and serves as the MiABLE Director within the Student Financial Services Bureau. Scott oversees the Michigan Guarantee Agency, the Student Loan Programs Office, in addition to the MiABLE 529A program. He has worked for the state for 17 years in various positions within the Departments of Treasury and also the Health and Human Services. So please welcome Scott DeVerona from the State of Michigan Department of Treasury.
Can everybody hear me? This is working? Okay. I'm going to try this. I'm going to play the MiABLE commercial that was done by Lieutenant Governor Calley, so that he can sell it a lot better than I can. So I'm just going to play it for you, and we'll see if it actually works, the technology.
The ABLE Act is probably the most substantial piece of reform to help people with disabilities since the Americans with Disabilities Act of 1990. Michigan is about to become the third state in the nation to implement this act. It is so important because people want to work, and that includes people with disabilities. But by going back to work and saving money, or when families try to plan more for the future, it puts that disability status for state and federal benefits at risk. The ABLE Act will change that. There shouldn't be any disincentive for a person to go to work or to save money. The ABLE Act allows a family or an individual to save up to $100,000 without putting their disability status in jeopardy. To learn more or to be notified as soon as enrollment opens, which we expect to happen in the next few months, please visit michigan.gov/MiABLE to learn more. Together, we'll build a better future so that everybody can reach independence and their full potential.
So I hate to correct Governor Calley right after you guys have been introduced to him, Lieutenant Governor Calley, but he did make two mistakes. Number one, Michigan will be the 5th state to open an ABLE account. And number two, he said it'll be open in a few months. It's more like a few days. We go live November 1st. That's the first question that everybody asks, so I'm going to get that right out there right now. We go live November 1st, okay? So with that out of the way, I'm going to go through my presentation. This is the same presentation that we've been doing for the past year, so there have been some modifications made to it as we've learned more about the ABLE account, as we've learned more about Michigan's ABLE account, which is called MiABLE. But I've done this presentation more times than I care to count. I'd much rather it be interactive, so if you guys have questions while I'm talking, shoot them out to me. I don't have a problem with that because you're not going to rattle me. I can do this in my sleep, okay? And this is supposed to be fun. So we're all here to learn, but I want you guys to have some fun with this too, okay? So, I hit the wrong button. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the ABLE Act and its history. We'll talk about ABLE features. Sorry, the mic's over here. Is that better? Okay. We're going to talk about the ABLE Act and its history on a national level. We're going to talk about ABLE features on a national level. We'll talk about Michigan specifically, and then I will leave time for questions and answers at the end as well, okay? Stephen E. Beck Jr. Achieving a Better Life Act became law in December of 2014 at the federal level with overwhelming congressional support. I don't know how many of you were involved or track government, watch C-SPAN or anything like that. This is one of those bills that everybody was on board with. It's a good thing for people with disabilities. Very hard to say no to this. Created a new section of 529 IRS code that authorized tax advantage savings programs for individuals with disabilities. It enables individuals to save for future expenses while protecting eligibility for public benefits, and it can grow tax-free as long as you use the proceeds for qualified disability expenses. Government loves acronyms. Okay? Military, government, they love acronyms. If you learn nothing else tonight, remember QDE, Qualified Disability Expenses. Yes, sir? Not yet, but it will be. We're in the process of updating our website because we're going live, and the presentations have to be updated with our go live information, then they will be available. Okay? Great question. I will get to that momentarily. Okay? ABLE account features, once again, this is at a nationwide level. Individuals are limited to one ABLE account nationwide. Sorry, got to come over here. So if you open an account in Ohio or Hawaii or New Hampshire or Delaware, you can't open one in Michigan. You can only have one. The account owner is a designated beneficiary, the person who has the disability. The account could be established in any state regardless of residence. So you as Michigan residents could open an account in Nebraska or Ohio or anywhere you want to. Michigan's program is going to be the best though. I'll tell you about that later. Yes, you may transfer them. The individual states are choosing their own investment portfolio, so there will be some differences in what is offered in individual states, and we'll talk a little bit about that later. That's the main difference. The bottom line is these are all essentially the same. The program is run by the IRS and the Social Security Administration. That's a nationwide program. Those are going to be, the features are going to be a little different, like for instance, how you can make your payments, whether it's by check or credit card and things like that. But the 529 accounts are essentially the same. Just like a 529 education account. Michigan has its own program, so does Virginia, so does Minnesota. Same flavor. Total annual contributions for an ABLE account are limited to the federal gift tax limit, which for this year is $14,000. This is where Michigan's program gets better. Aggregate contributions for ABLE accounts are limited to the 529 education limit that's set by each individual state. Michigan has the highest. Michigan's representative who sponsored the bill raised the 529 limit to the state of Michigan to $500,000. So we're the highest in the nation. ABLE assets are excluded, which means no matter how much money you have in your ABLE account, your Medicaid is protected. That includes all the waiver programs. However, in opposition to that, Medicaid becomes the first creditor upon the death of the beneficiary. Okay? And that is nationwide. That's not a Michigan specific. That is how they are running this program. That's how they're justifying eliminating the Medicaid eligibility question by making Medicaid the first creditor. So okay, I gotta stop. It's hot in here. So you guys have all seen me in a suit, so I'm just taking this off. Too hot. Okay. Yes, ma'am. Yes, that's a total of all your 529 educations for a beneficiary. So if you open up a 529 education account for your child, that balance plus the balance in their ABLE account can't be greater than $500,000. Okay? All right. So who's eligible to open an I'm sorry, yes? I'm going to talk a little bit about that in a minute, but what Lieutenant Governor Calley said is technically true. At $100,000, there's no impact to your disability status. On top of that, there are some ramifications with SSI. Nothing for Medicaid, but with SSI. We'll talk about that in a second, too. So who's eligible to open an ABLE account? Individuals must become disabled prior to age 26. The severity of the disability has to be determined to meet SSI or SSDI standards, or they left a provision in the ABLE Act that allows individuals who are not receiving benefits of SSI to self-certify to say that I am disabled, although I'm not collecting benefits, and I want to open an ABLE account. So it does offer that provision. Okay? What can ABLE assets or funds be used for? Once again, back to our acronym, QDE. Distributions must be made for qualified disability expenses. Qualified disability expenses are defined as costs related to the beneficiary's death or blindness. They are for the benefit of the beneficiary. So you can't take money out of your ABLE account and give it away as a gift. Tracking of qualified disability expenses is the responsibility of the party responsible for the account, whether it's the beneficiary themselves, representative payee, a guardian, power of attorney, anything like that. These are all subject to audit by the IRS and the Social Security Administration. When in doubt, keep track of it. Okay? It's the best advice I can give you, and I work for the Department of Treasury. Yes, sir. Okay, there's a running joke that we've been talking about with qualified disability expenses, okay? We have had the debate. I'm going to skip ahead to a slide. Here's what the legislation says, okay? QDE is meant to be as broad as possible and includes expenses of everyday living. So, anything regarding education, whether it's tuition, books, anything like that. Anything related to housing, rent, mortgage, all can be used with an ABLE account. Transportation, employment training programs, anybody who uses assistive technology or mobility needs, they can use that too. Anything for health, prevention, and wellness, which includes pharmacy. If they TurboTax, financial management, you can use all that stuff. Legal fees, and any end-of-life expenses. So burial, obituary, anything like that can be used with an ABLE account. So we look at this list and we think, okay, the IRS said it's as broad as possible. We want these people to use these accounts for whatever's going to make their lives better because of the disability. We came up with 3 exceptions that I would not recommend any of you try, okay? Number 1, liquor stores. Don't go to a liquor store and use your ABLE card. Number 2, casinos. Kind of hard to justify that that's a disability expense. And the third one, everybody in here is over 18, adult entertainment establishments. If you can draw the lines out. I wouldn't use my ABLE card at any of those 3 places because the IRS is going to audit you. I'm going to tell you this right now. So the bottom line to answer your question is, it is pretty much anything, okay, as long as you're not in those 3 categories that I mentioned. You were first. Go ahead. Yes, absolutely. Prepaid funeral expenses, anything regarding your end of life expenses, absolutely. And that's what you want to use to minimize Medicaid's claim to your ABLE accounts. Yes, sir. The answer to that question is a qualified yes. It's a qualified yes because the bottom line is it is considered a housing expense. I would be leery about using my ABLE account or my relative's ABLE account for the benefit of other people. That's my personal take on it. I'm not the IRS. I'm not the Social Security Administration. I would be leery of that in a group situation. Yes, sir. This is much more broad than a special needs trust limits. One of the reasons that these accounts were created is to offer more flexibility in what can be used for these funds. That's one of the major differences between an ABLE account and a special needs trust. Okay. Companion travel would probably not be allowed because it is not for the benefit of the beneficiary. I would be leery of that as well. That would be my personal guess. Oh, you can't hear the question. I'm sorry. The question was regarding companion travel. And my personal belief is with companion travel, since that travel is not for the benefit of the beneficiary, I would be leery of utilizing that, an ABLE account. You'd have to keep meticulous records of that. That's the best advice I can give you. But I have a document here that I'm asked that I write down your questions so that I can take them back and make sure that I've got the correct answer. So companion travel is a new one. Excellent question. The absolutely 100% yes. In fact, For those individuals who are familiar with special needs trust, they can be rather costly. An ABLE account is a great way to save up for those costs. If you've got to drop $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, you can save that money in your ABLE account and then use that money because financial management and administrative services and legal fees are all covered expenses with an ABLE account. Yes, sir, in the back. Yes. That is correct, sir. Yes, ma'am, in the green. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yes, in fact, I've already received calls from attorneys who have said, I need to set up an ABLE account because I have a court order that says I have to put this money in an ABLE account, and I have to tell them, I'm sorry, I don't have a place to put it until November 1st. So the answer to your question is the problem, he's not getting SSI because of his assets or his resources, right? So this, by putting the money in an ABLE account, his resources would be diminished. And that's, yes, this is exactly what he can use this account for. She was first and then you, sir, in the time. There's no age limit. As long as you were disabled prior to age 26, you can use the account your entire life. Sir? Sorry. The question was, like a special needs trust, does an ABLE account have a maximum age cap? The answer is no. You can use an ABLE account your entire life. You had a question? Because you can use these accounts for things that you can't use a special needs trust, like housing, things like that. Sorry, I forgot already. The question was, how is the ABLE account allowable expenses more broad than a special needs trust? Because you can use it for housing. Yes. No problem. Yes. The question is whether anybody can make a contribution to an ABLE account. The answer is yes. Anybody can contribute to that. So even if it's money from Social Security, even if it's money from family members, things like that, it's all allowable. That is correct. $14,000 a year from all sources. Yes, sir. So, like Lieutenant Governor Calley said, individuals who work, we want to give them this ability. Here's the situation. Somebody who works and is collecting Social Security, if they have too much in their savings account, they lose their Social Security. This is where this money can go. And therefore, I love all the heads nodding. That's great, because that's exactly what these are for. The bottom line is we want to have, for lack of a better term, a way to shelter that income to allow individuals to keep working, keep doing what they want to do to better their lives, and not hurt their income limit for SSI. Yes, ma'am. Sorry. Mm-hmm. The Social Security Administration is going to have a place for you to indicate the money that's gone into his ABLE account. And we have a conference call with Social Security Administration on Wednesday to discuss that process. So yes, it will be documented. Yes, ma'am. The Medicaid clawback requires that when an individual who has an ABLE account passes away, any money that Medicaid has spent from the time the ABLE account is created until that person's death, anything that Medicaid pays, they are entitled to request back. It's called clawback. Yes. Yes. So it's not any different. Yes, sir. Third-party special needs trust or pooled special trusts are different. You're absolutely correct. Yes, ma'am. No. No. Anything that you purchase with an ABLE account is yours. The only thing that they can claw back is what's in the ABLE account. So I don't know who said it, but yeah, okay. I'm sorry. No. The limit per beneficiary is $14,000 per tax year. So Susie can get $14,000 in her account from any number of sources, from Grandma and Grandpa, from Uncle Joe, from anybody, including her own job. Only 14 on a calendar basis, and that's based on the IRS gift tax rules, which could increase over time. It's going to take some time. It's not going to happen overnight. No, you cannot open it with more than 14. One of the reasons that we were pressured, let's just say that, to go live this calendar year was to allow individuals to make a contribution in calendar 2016, which you could do November 1st. You can put $14,000 in any eligible individual's account. January 1st, you could then put another $14,000 in their account. Yes, I am not telling you that there's going to be somebody who has a $500,000 account anytime soon. It's going to take a number of years. I'll get you in a second. Yes, ma'am. White shirt. Absolutely correct. The question was, can you have a personal savings account in addition to an ABLE account? The answer is 100% yes. The way that we're touting this to individuals, it's just another tool in the tool belt. We are not talking about the replacement of special needs trust, neither first nor third person. We're calling this another tool in the tool belt, another way that individuals with disabilities can help save for their futures and make sure that they can contribute whatever they want to contribute to themselves. Sir? Mm-hmm. Let me tell you this. I've learned a lot about special needs trust since I started this project, but I am by no means an expert on special needs trust. I know a lot. I know enough to know the difference between an ABLE account and a special needs trust, but I'm not a trust expert. And I learned that very, very quickly. Hold on. Let me get back to him real quick. Yes, sir. Mm-hmm. We'll get to that. I promise. That's coming up. Yes, sir. The answer is no. Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm. That is exactly correct. What you want to do is you want to make sure that if you're getting close to the asset limit, that you put money in the ABLE account. Now, this is not going to change your calculation for income. Okay, if you have an income, your Social Security is going to be affected by that. But if you're at the asset limit and you have, $2,500 in your account and you need to move some money out of that account, right now you don't have an option. You can take it out in cash and you can put it in your mattress, but that's about it. I don't recommend that. I work for the Department of Treasury. I don't recommend that. But with an ABLE account, you can take whatever money that you have that's in excess and you can move that into an ABLE account, and that money is not counted against you for asset limits. Yes, sir.
Money on SSDI, which is actually
Yes, sir. Yes. Money, regardless of the source of the money, it's eligible to go into an ABLE account. So whether it's a bank account, whether it's your income, whether it's the beneficiary's income, any of it can be used to fund an ABLE account.
People who work, do they get tax benefit when they
We're going to get to that in 1 second. I'm going to talk about the tax benefit in 1 second. Yes, sir. No problem. No. That is correct. Yes. That is still up for debate, and we have to get with the IRS to see what their interpretation is. That is one of the things that we're working on with our disclosure agreement right now. Is it aggregate contributions or is it contributions plus earnings? We still don't have the answer to that question yet. Okay, but I do want to get just to the difference between what Lieutenant Governor Calley said about the $100,000. ABLE assets are excluded or favorably treated for determining eligibility for federal and state benefits. For SSI, the first $100,000 is disregarded. You have $100,000 and 1 penny, then SSI payments are suspended. You're not kicked out of SSI, but they are suspended when you reach that $100,000 threshold. Now with Medicaid, it doesn't matter what your balance is. It doesn't matter what your balance is, as long as you have the money in an ABLE account, your Medicaid will not be impacted. Once again, that includes all the waiver programs. So somebody asked a question earlier about tax implications. All ABLE contributions are made with post-tax dollars, and as long as you use the assets for qualified disability expenses, there's no impact to your taxes. If you use them for non-qualified disability expenses, casinos, liquor stores, adult, there's a penalty associated with that. Okay. Here's another thing that our sponsoring legislature did that was a wonderful addition to this. For the state of Michigan, anybody who contributes to an ABLE account receives a tax deduction. For individuals, it's $5,000. That's the highest in the nation. And for a joint account, it's $10,000. So those of you who are thinking of funding an account this calendar year, you have an extra deduction to look forward to. If you're not filing Michigan taxes, then it doesn't help you. That's correct, sir. Post-tax money. Thanks you. Yes, ma'am. That is correct. So you could contribute to your child's account. They could contribute to your child's account. You both get a tax deduction. Okay? I thought I saw a hand come up. They are capped at $14,000. Yes. So they could contribute $5,000. They could contribute $5,000. They can only contribute $1,000. So, nobody told me I had to do math, but you are correct. 10, 5, 10, and 14. Wow. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for that. Nobody. Yeah, it's Treasury. Yes, ma'am. Individuals who have a spouse or another family member who is also disabled, they'd have to have their own accounts. So that is correct. Yes, ma'am. Okay. I want to talk a little bit about, because we've talked about the aggregate cap on 529s. Currently right now, and this is how this whole thing came about, Mr. Beck was planning his children's future expenses, planning for college. He had a daughter, he's passed away, who had Down syndrome. And he said, what do I do to save for her future? And Congress kind of said, we don't know. So that's how this whole thing came about. But currently right now, if you had saved already for a child's potential college, and they aren't going to college, possibly because of this disability, right now there is no allowability for an individual to transfer an Education 529 to an ABLE 529. That's what it is right now today. Okay? want to make sure that's clear, because now I'm going to talk about what's happening at the national level regarding ABLE. There are 3 bills currently in your federal Congress right now that will impact the ABLE implementation. House Bill 4794 will allow rollovers from an education account to an ABLE account. So if you started contributing to an education account, the individual's not going to college because of a disability, you can move that money into ABLE. Second bill that will impact ABLE would allow eligible individuals who are working to contribute another $11,700, the federal poverty limit, in addition to the federal gift tax limit, $14,000. 1 second, I just want to get through all 3 real quick. And the third bill would increase the maximum age of onset for eligibility from 26 to 46. All 3 of these provisions are in the Federal House of Representatives right now. They have already moved 2 out of committee. Unfortunately, it was the first 2. So we, as an entity, are actively pushing for Congress to push all 3 of these through. And that is on almost every disability advocacy group out there is pushing for all 3 bills. I don't know if any of you have heard or not, there's an election coming up. Who knows what's going to happen with these after November 8th? I'm a betting man, but I'm not putting any money on anything after November 8th. So, but I wanted you to know that this is, to say that right now we're going to have a program is 100% true. To say that we're going to know what the program is going to look like 5, 10, 15 years from now, we don't know. When the ABLE Act was introduced, there was nothing about age. We wanted to help individuals with disabilities, not individuals with disabilities under age 26. We don't know where it came from. Congress, with their Congressional Budget Office, they scored it better with an age limit. We don't like it, but it is what it is right now today. The good news is they're looking at changing it. Yes, ma'am. Sorry, you're next, I promise. I don't like the use of the term gift, but you could fund your trust with money from an ABLE account. Yes. I guess I'm not understanding your terminology. Uh-huh. Sorry, the question is, if I think I understand. If you open an ABLE account and you fund an ABLE account, what can you do to undo that if you don't like the ABLE account, I think is what you're asking. Once again, all distributions from an ABLE account, in order to avoid tax consequences, have to be for qualified disability expenses. So the answer to the question is, if you want to take the money out because you don't like the investments, that's probably not going to be a qualified disability expense. You can use the funds for an ABLE account to pay for the attorney to set up the special needs trust. Yes. That's one of the things they want to do, is to give people who can't afford special needs trust a way to save for the fees associated with establishing one. This is a perfect method for using that. Yes, sir. He's still, yeah. Yes. The question was whether, if you have invested in another state, can you move it from state to state? The answer is yes. Just like a 529 education account, if you don't like Michigan's program, I didn't do it, it's not my fault, but if you don't like Michigan's 529 education plan, you can move your money to any state you want. Same situation with ABLE. Yes, sir, in the orange shirt.
If you're disabled before age 22, but not have education, you still get benefits?
You can still open an ABLE account regardless of your benefit status. So as long as your disability is prior to age 26, you can open an ABLE account. Now, the question is whether you'd want to open an ABLE account if you're not getting those federal benefits. I don't know if it's worth it to you or not. I mean, if you're not trying to shelter income or assets to prevent you from losing your eligibility, it may not be worth it for you to open an ABLE account. Okay? Wow. 4 hands went up at the same time. Go ahead. So, sorry. The question was, what's the standard for determining if individuals are disabled? Once again, before age 26, we want to. Social Security Administration has their rules for what they're determining as disabled. That includes anything on the compassionate allowance list, and as long as there is documented case of that prior to the 26th birthday, that qualifies. Self-certification? Yes. That is correct. Yes. And let me tell you just a little bit of the backstory. When Treasury was first tasked with this, they said, you've got to track diagnoses, you've got to track doctors, and we said, no. We deal with interest rates, we deal with basis points, we don't want to know diagnoses. And they eventually relented on that and took that out. We don't want your medical data. We've got enough private data at Treasury, we don't want any more. So they took that out. We don't have to track that stuff anymore. The IRS and the Social Security Administration will still want that from you in an audit, but the bottom line is that's not something that we have to, we will allow you the ability to self-certify, to say I am disabled, I meet this classification, this qualification, and if the IRS asks us, did she prove that, we're going to send them right to you. Yes? Mm-hmm. No, you can transfer. The question is, if you move, can you transfer the account? The answer is yes. You can transfer an account to anywhere you'd like, whichever program you'd like, regardless of where you live. You don't have to move it to the state you live in. You can move it to any other state you'd like. I don't want to tell you. No, I'm kidding. Exactly, yes. Unfortunately, it's all public information. Ohio was the first state to open. Nebraska, I can't remember if Nebraska was next or Tennessee was next. Those are the 3 states that are open for nationwide participation. Florida is also open. Florida made the decision to choose only Florida residents. So Michigan will be the 5th state to open, the 4th nationwide program to open. Yes, sir. Great question. The question was, is there a minimum amount to open an account? Much like the 529 education, you have to start the account with $25. Yes, ma'am. What a great question. Thank you very much. Real quick, I just want to get my last slide. We're doing outreach constantly. That's why I'm here. I was in Marquette last week. I'm going to be in Grand Rapids later this week. If you have any questions or anything like that, there's our email address, miable@michigan.gov. Our website, I'm going to show it to you. I'm going to try. It's a lot easier if you have the monitor in front of you, but I'm going to try. Okay. So this is what we envision. Like I said, we're going live in a matter of days. I'm going to try and do it over here, just so you guys can see. So I'll probably talk about it. But right here is where you can subscribe to MiABLE updates. So this is where you can enroll your email address. So if we send news out, you can do that right here. Right here is where you can visit us on Facebook. We can talk about events like this. We can talk about our next upcoming event. I envision, now I'm not a programmer, okay, but I envision something right here that says, click here to enroll. That's where it'll be. Somewhere on this page, I don't know if it's going to be right here, but click here to enroll. Let me show you an example. So, if you go like to right here, Michigan Education Savings Plan, this is our Education 529. There you go. So it looks something like this. Click here to enroll or click here to open an account. That's what we want to make it as as user-friendly as possible. We want people to use it, and we want people to go here instead of calling me. Yes, sir, in the middle. You'd have to start a whole new account because nobody has any accounts. It doesn't open until November 1st. Mm-hmm. Much like our 529 education account, it goes into a brokerage account where you will have 5 different options for investments. We'll have 2 different options for taking money out. You can have a check cut to you, or you'll have an ABLE card that you can use. Let me see if I can show you that. I don't have it on this presentation yet. It will be a Visa card that can be used anywhere that you can use Visa, except for casinos, liquor stores, and adult establishments. In fact, if you learn nothing else, it's QDE and those 3 things. Yes, sir, in the back. Yeah, I could talk a little bit about that. The fees are, it's $45 per year is an annual fee, which is commensurate with other states. State of Ohio is, I think it's $35 for Ohio residents and $50 for out-of-state residents. We will have 5 different investment opportunities. One investment is a FDIC zero risk investment. Then we will have more aggressive investments going up from there. Mutual funds. Okay. Our vendor is TSA. They're a company out of Florida who does a lot of work with retirement plans for teachers. So they do a lot of things with the intermediate school districts, and that's how they got involved in this business. It's kind of like a retirement account, but it's also kind of like a health savings account with a lot more options. So that's how they got in this business. And one of the questions that a lot of people ask me is, well, what else has TSA done in the ABLE space? Nothing, because there is no ABLE space. I mean, there are no companies out there. We had to put out 2, and I'm talking a little bit more about how the sausage is made, but we had to put out 2 requests for somebody to come forward to say, we need help administering this. I'm not a programmer. So we had to put out 2 requests to find a company who would do this for us. We're really glad that TSA did. Yes, sir. There are investment costs associated with being in those investments, with the exception of the FDIC, and they vary based on their risk portfolio. What's going to happen is on our website, we'll have the disclosure agreement, which is like a 50-page document of all the rules and stuff. It's not there yet. I don't want to offend anyone in the room, but the lawyers are talking about it. So that's what we're waiting on. As soon as we have that document, I want to put it up on our website so that people can see it. Are there any lawyers in the room? I think there are a couple. I can tell. But the bottom line is we're waiting for our Attorney General and their attorney to make sure that they agree on the language, and that's what we're waiting for. This has been a very, very aggressive timeline to get this done. I have conference calls daily with the Attorney General's office and with counsel for the vendor, TSA. We've got a lot of work to do in the next week and a half to get this ready to go, but the bottom line is we have to be up. Yes, sir. Mm-hmm. Basically, yes. There are not, first of all, I'm sorry, thank you. The question was what type of investments are being offered, essentially. When the 529 education accounts came out, how many of you were around 20, 25 years ago for 529 education accounts? Number one, the fees were exorbitant. It cost you like $150 to open up, and they didn't have a whole lot of investment options. It was like, you can put your money here, you can put your money here. As that product matured, the price came down, the investment opportunities opened up. There's no reason to think that this shouldn't do the same thing. So Nebraska has, I think, 10 or 12 different investments. Florida has 2 or 3. I can't remember about Tennessee, and Ohio has, I think, 5 or 6. So we're about in the middle of the road. Like I said, I suspect as the product matures, our prices will go down as our assets go up, and the different choices will increase. Now, I'm not stating that I want you to wait and for them to open up, because saving money for disability is a good thing to do now. Yes, sir. Go ahead. Follow up. Mm-hmm. Let me show you something real quick. This is, remember when I said click here to enroll? This is a flavor of what it's going to look like, okay? You've got to put in your demographic information, where you live, how to contact you, things like that. You've got to tell us about the beneficiary, all that type of stuff. You've got to give us an address, so email, so we can send you your statements. And the answer to your question is right here. So there's going to be an opportunity for you to make investment decisions based on how you want to save. Those of you who want to use this as a transactional account, I'm going to put $50 in, I'm going to take out $25, I'm going to put another $50 in, I'm going to take out $35. You're going to want the bank option. Okay? Those of you that have to save for a special wheelchair that's going to cost $20,000, or a handicap accessible van, something that's going to cost a lot of money, who has a longer timeline, you're going to want a more aggressive, a longer-based approach. What this is going to do, this is all mocked up data, remember, but it's going to give you details on what's in these mutual funds. Is it Apple? Is it Google? Prospectus on what we can expect, not expect, but what past history has been. Okay? I'm not an investment counselor. I don't want to do that. The bottom line is it's a chance for you to make your determination based on how you think you're going to use your account. Does that answer your question? Yes, sir. So you can't split money. Yes, you can. The question was, can you split money among the different investments? Absolutely. If you say, I want to contribute $100, and every time I contribute $100, I want to put 20 in each, you can do that. Yes. Those are the fees that I'm talking about, yes. There are no transaction fees for taking money out. Oh my gosh. Lots of hands went up. I'm going to go this way around the room. Go ahead, ma'am.
I'm a teacher in the school district, so I have to ask a couple questions because I have my family that I help.
Great.
Okay, so one, how young? I mean, I'm assuming younger the better, and then ready to open this, younger the better.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay,
It's compounding money is a good thing.
Families who, I mean, we're not even sure if like families will get appetizers. You know, we're not even there yet. We're not even talking about that yet. So
there is a risk if, when we're talking about SSI, you're right, there are chances that it gets denied and then it gets appealed and then all that. Yes. However, if the individual is disabled, regardless of their their SSI status, you can use an ABLE account.
okay, so the disability can range from significant to.
That is 100% correct.
Okay.
Yes.
And then to follow up on that, a lot of my family, they just do not have the means. They don't come to meetings to open special needs talk together how much I recommend. They saw the financial needs. So this would be a better way. So if Aunt Judy wanted to give her house, and Aunt Judy can't go to the special needs talk, somebody could sell that and then put money in every year in that account.
Correct. Yes. I just want to tell you this one cool part, okay? And then I'll get to your questions. One of the neat things that TSA is creating for us, our vendor, is a method by which you can request donations and contributions from other people. So y'all have heard of GoFundMe? I can't say GoFundMe because it's trademarked, but that's a lot what it is. Individuals will have the ability when they enroll to create a profile to say, Susie is saving for a wheelchair. And anybody can contribute to it, as long as they don't go up to that $14,000. It's perfectly, absolutely 100% voluntary. I'm not telling you that everybody should use this, but the bottom line is, if there are individuals who have a need, the option will be there. And it'll look something like this. Once again, this is mocked up data, but so you can put a picture in, and tell your story, and you can say, you know, we're really trying to save for a wheelchair ramp. We're really trying to save for something that we can't afford. Here's the chance for you to do it. Not only can you do a public profile, you can also do a private profile, so that when, I don't want to share it with the whole world, but I want to send it to grandma and grandpa so they can help contribute. You'll have a search function as well. Okay, I have a lot of questions. I'll get back to you. Ron. Yes, sir. Shoot.
Who controls the account? The reason I ask that is we don't represent AEs. And I know that I think that volunteering on the recipient's part.
Yes.
One of the reasons we don't represent AEs
Is because,
people aren't really good at managing funds.
yes.
So is it similar in that fashion?
It is similar in that fashion when an account is established. Now, there is nothing that stops an individual who is less savvy with their money from opening up an account. And because we're limited to one account, there is that potential for somebody to establish an account, and now that representative payee can't get into it and things like that. We have a process and safeguards in place to prevent that, but the bottom line is, I'm sure it might happen. So we have some things that, we have some other means of tracking that. And we will have an a toll-free number that will allow individuals who fall into that category, hey, I need help. Joe set up an account already. He lost the password, or he shouldn't have access to this. Here's how we can fix that. Plan A is go in and establish it the way that it should be established originally, yes.
On your website currently, you have a comment that your distribution from housing expenses from an MiABLE account would be considered a resource when determining eligibility for SSI and could affect the designated beneficiary benefit.
Here's the way that SSI's calculation for resources is a snapshot. So if you take out $500 to pay your rent on the 30th and you don't pay your rent until the 5th, that $500 counts as a resource. So the best advice that I can give you is take the money out and use it the same calendar month. That's the biggest issue, is when they take the picture of what's in your account, that's the issue with housing. And I've got some examples I could send to you that spell it out a little more clearly. Okay, I was working my way this way. Yes, ma'am. The question is, do we have a list of individuals who can help people establish this? The answer is no, but I will tell you that one of the aspects of Michigan's law is that we offer what's called broker-sold MiABLE accounts. That is not going live on November 1st, but it will happen eventually. It's part of our legislation. We have to do it. But we wanted to offer the program to individuals as quickly as possible, so we put that on hold. So the answer to your question is, eventually, we are going to have a link to a list of individual brokers, stockbrokers, who will be able to help people with their financial advisors, things like that. So will there be some attorneys on there? Probably. The problem is that we as the state don't want to send people to Joe Smith brokerage firm. That's the, I don't want to say problem, that's the issue we have to deal with. So the answer to your question is yes. At some point there will be a list of brokers who can sell, for lack of a better term, an ABLE account, and they can also do financial counseling as well. TSA is also going to be putting on our enrollment website a lot of financial literacy webinars, things of that nature, so that people can start to learn about what is risk. Because this is a historically underbanked and underutilized financial services community. we've got to make sure that they understand the decisions that they're making when they enroll in these accounts. Go to Oakland County ARC as well. Great. Yes, ma'am, you've had your hand up a long time. Mm-hmm. Incorrect. You can transfer among immediate family members as long as they are independently qualified as disabled. So you could have two accounts that you can pass it into the one. You understand? Remember, not everybody has multiple disabled individuals in their family. So if I have a disabled child, a single disabled child, who has $100,000 in their ABLE account and they pass away, I don't have anybody I can give it to. I don't have another member of my family that's disabled that independently is qualified for an ABLE account on their own. So individuals who have, or families that have multiple individuals with disabilities are definitely advantaged by this plan. Transfers don't have the $14,000 limit. Transfers and rollovers don't have that $14,000 limit. Up to $500,000. Yeah, if you have two children, I would not recommend having more than $250,000 in each account. I'm going to go this way. Green shirt. Medicaid is first. After Medicaid gets paid whatever they've paid over the life of the ABLE account, then yes, there would be whoever is enrolled as the beneficiary, and it would have to go through all the legal ramifications of, is there a will, is there probate, is there trust, all that stuff. But yes, if there's money left over, or say Medicaid never made a payment, yeah, then it would go to through the normal process like any other bank account. Yes, sir. Correct. Those Buckeyes beat us to it. They went, I believe, July 1st or July 31st. I can't remember. Yeah, yes, nobody has opened an account prior to July, at least this summer. I can't remember what their date was. We have a nationwide ABLE forum where we have a conference call with every state who's doing very similar to this, and they have opened, I want to say nationwide, there may be 1,000, maybe 1,200 accounts open. It is a steep learning curve. We're all learning. I'm doing events like this, and I'm writing questions down because I'm still learning. But the bottom line is, we want to get the word out so that people know that it's out there and available. Yes, ma'am. That is a very, very good question. Like I said, I have a conference call with Social Security Administration on Wednesday. One of the provisions of the ABLE account is that ABLE offices, qualified ABLE programs, send a report to the Social Security Administration on a monthly basis. Now, I don't know how many of you, that's a huge amount of data that they're going to ask for every single month. There are a lot of logistical problems with that because we're talking private information. So that's the reason for the conference call. And it's not just Michigan. It's every state that's enabling, I always use that word, every state that is enacting an ABLE account is on that call. So the answer to your question is some, but I don't know how much. Yes, sir. Yes, I use SSI and SSDI interchangeably. It's money from the federal government through the Social Security office. So the answer to your question is yes, SSI, SSDI. Yes, ma'am. Yes, as long as once you're qualified as they also put a provision into the original ABLE Act that said that individuals with disabilities had to recertify every year. Now, I've never heard of anybody being cured of certain disabilities, so it didn't make sense to say, you know, do you still have Down syndrome? Yes, because it doesn't go away. So that's one of the things that they did away with is once you're eligible, unless you have something really, really strange that is suddenly curable, you're eligible. You're eligible, you're eligible, you're eligible. Yes, sir, in the back. Sorry. I'm sorry, which? Okay. She asked about when, no. SSDI. SSI, SSDI. He wanted to make sure that SSDI also qualified you for this program. Yes. The question is regarding the contribution. If you, for lack of a better term, donate or contribute $5,000, you are eligible to take a deduction of $5,000, and that is for ABLE accounts. I don't know what the contribution limit is, what the deduction limit is for is it 5,000? Okay, for a single person. Okay, I don't know the answer to that. I need to find that one out because I don't want to tell you the wrong thing. Yes. It is technically an asset shelter, not an income shelter. You are correct, sir. Yes. Yes, ma'am. Yes. The answer, the question was, can funeral expenses be taken out of the ABLE account prior to Medicaid clawback? The answer is yes. And I'm going to tell everybody in this room, figure out whatever expenses you can use for end-of-life care prior to letting Medicaid get this money. That's coming from the Department of Treasury. Figure out a way to utilize as much money as you can for qualified disability expenses prior to letting Medicaid have whatever's left. Exhaust it. Do whatever you can to exhaust it. Yes, sir. Thank you. Any idea what that, what's that account called? Okay. Yeah, I don't know if anybody ever paid for a death or burial before, but it's a lot more than $2,000. Rolled into MiABLE. Thank you, because that's a question I would know that. I had one over here, I thought. Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm.
So, how do I get the information? Like, we're talking about the ABLE account here. Is there a because it's got a website that I can sign, look up the information and sign information? Is there something like that?
Yes. Yes. Go to michigan.gov /MiABLE, and that'll take you to our website, which has all the information on here. Yes, ma'am. Yes. Mm-hmm. The question is, what's the status of those 3 bills? Like I said, when the initial push to do this into Congress, we weren't talking about age limits. They had to add the age limit in order for them to score it effectively through the Congressional Business Office. The answer to your question is, your guess is as good as mine. I know that the disability advocacy groups are doing everything in their power to get these 3 bills to pass because it's good for everybody. Now the question is, okay, great. raise the age from 26 to 46. What about those individuals who have a traumatic brain injury from a car accident after age 46? They can't have an ABLE account. I still am finding it impossible to justify having any sort of age limit on this whatsoever. I can't justify it. I have a hard time when I'm in rooms like this going, but how come I'm not eligible? And I have to say, I don't have a good answer for you. So, like I said, your guess is as good as mine as to what's going to happen with those three. The fact that we put forth, I didn't do it. The fact that Congress put forth all three of those bills together and then separated the age bill out, we have mixed feelings about that. We want them all in together because it's going to help build ABLE assets. It's going to help build the program. It's going to give the program credibility. And eventually it's going to make it cheaper for everybody. But they took the age provision out. I don't know why. I don't know what their justification is. I just do what I'm told when it comes to things like that. So, but by all means, keep track of it because it's going to impact what we do and what we have going forward. Yes, ma'am.
So one of the deals I'm thinking of is there's being so much growth, so they're going to get a diploma and they may go on for their education. And I don't want to oversell this to families. So if a student has, let's say, autism or they're on the spectrum, they open an account at 10 years old. They put their money in, graduates high school. He goes off and lives independently. He can use this money, even though he's graduated.
Yes. Yes. This money can be used for education. This money can be used for tuition. This money can be used for housing. Yes, if let's say they fund it, here, we're going to put $14,000 in the account every year for his qualified disability expenses. Because they termed that so broadly, he can pretty much use it for the same things that you would use a 529 education account for. So this has some additional flexibility. Now, it also has some limitations, the $14,000 cap and things like that. But the bottom line is, if you're questioning whether a 529 education or a MiABLE account, these are discussions that you want to have with the family because nobody can predict the future. MiABLE account has some more flexibility than a 529 education account. 529 education account has some different investment opportunities that a MiABLE account doesn't have. So there are some trade-offs, and that's where getting educated is the best thing. I just told that to a teacher. Sorry. Yes, ma'am. Oh, sorry. I got two of you talking. Sorry.
You can't get money out for it, but you use it to pay for services, so you can use it as fires.
Like a card.
It's a Visa card. It's a Visa card, but you have to have it. It's got to be prepaid. It's got to be loaded. You got to have money in the account. So it's like a debit card.
So how do you do that?
You can use it anywhere. You can use it anywhere that.
So how do you get money into that card?
Oh, by enrolling here. Yes.
And all that up on the website.
Yes. Yes, ma'am. You have a question.
The $14,000 cap.
Mhm.
Now, let's say we put 10, now on this wheel, we need to take out 5, but we haven't. Is it $14,000 total deposit for the whole year?
Correct.
Oh, okay.
There is some debate about that because they want people to use these, but if you put $14,000 in and then you take $5,000 out, shouldn't you be able to put that $5,000 back in for the contribution? There is some debate about that, and that is still a question that is still being pondered at the federal level as well. So, stay tuned. It's like a health savings account. Yes, you use it, you replenish it. You use it, you replenish it. Yes, ma'am. Oh, yes, ma'am.
Yes, we will have. Sorry.
The question was, how do you put money in? You'll be able to make deposits from your bank account through an ACH or an EFT. You can enter your information right in there. You'll also be able to mail in checks to a post office box where individuals can contribute and things like that. Wow. Yes, and this will be very similar to a savings account, only instead of just being paid interest, you could also invest this money into different funds, which would allow your contributions to grow.
But now, with that though, is it credit union or?
No, it's not in a credit union or a bank. The funds are held in trust by the state of Michigan, just like a 529 education account. Right now, if you contribute to a 529 education account in the state of Michigan, the money actually goes to Boston because that's where our contractor is based out of. So, but the bottom line is the money is held in trust by the state of Michigan. Go ahead, man. The question is, can you help an individual with disabilities to open an account? The answer to that question is yes. But the account is in this case, your son's name. It is his ABLE account. Yes, sir. Yeah, the money will come out of the FDIC portion of the assets. So, like I said, we've got 5 different options. We have an FDIC option and then 4 different investment funds. You'll have to make sure that the FDIC option is loaded before you can take a distribution from the assets. I'm going to go this way. Yes, ma'am. Michigan State Shirt. Don't use your ABLE card for that, please. I know what you're saying. Like I said, in order for us to allow what the IRS deemed as broad as possible, we could only eliminate, we couldn't eliminate things like the grocery store. So the answer to your question is, if he goes to Myers and buys a 5th of whiskey and uses his ABLE card, there is nothing that's going to prevent that from happening. Okay? However, if he gets audited by the Social Security Administration, the IRS, and says, that $14, I don't know how much a bottle of whiskey costs, but whatever, that expense that you used at Myers with your ABLE card, you better be able to document that was a qualified disability expense, or else he's going to have a tax penalty associated with that. I would definitely, anything that you use your ABLE card for, I would definitely keep a receipt for that. Yes, sir.
I'll go back to
Okay, sir. I just want to make sure I got this correct. You're asking if earned or unearned income is qualified for ABLE accounts? I've never had that question before. Yes, and the answer to that question, sorry, he said, if I am putting money in my daughter's ABLE account, that is money that she did not earn. So the answer to the question, based on that, is yes. It doesn't have to be earned income for the beneficiary. Everybody understand? Okay, and you had a second question, sir?
Well, I think it's in your previous time, it might be eligibility. Is that also goes for the Medicare savings and that fits up the premium?
You're talking about Medicare Part B premium?
Yeah, the state
You're talking about Medicare buy-in?
No, not buying.
Okay.
Safety net.
That one I do not know the answer to, but I will check on that.
The buy-in is for them to work.
Okay. The question, if I'm reading this correctly, is does the Medicare Part B premium that the state pays, Medicare Savings Plan? I do not know the answer to that, but I will find out for you. Medicare State Plan. See, I do keep notes, I promise. But I will find out the answer to that, and I'll make sure that I get it to you. Yes, ma'am. There's no maximum for withdrawals because, like I said, this account is established for individuals who make any sort of disability expense, whether that disability expense is a wheelchair-accessible van that could cost $65,000 or it's an iPhone for communication purposes. So the next question people have is, well, isn't my debit card going to be locked? Yeah, you can't make a purchase for more than, I think it's $2,000 with a debit card. But we will have other methods. So if you want to go to your local car dealership to make that purchase, we can issue you a check. So you just go to the website and you say, I need a check for $35,000 to pay for this van. We can issue you the check. Yes, sir. Yes, you'll be able to you'll be able to have the check pre-filled out so that it goes directly. You can either have it directly to the car company, to the dealership, or you can have it issued to yourself. It's not. No, we do not want people taking cash out because that's where we get into the whole. Yeah, I took $20 out and I spent it at. No, we don't want any cash. Not cash card. That is correct. Yes, sir. Mm-hmm. Yes, the question is about the ABLE statements. You'll get quarterly statements just like you do with any investment account that says, you know, here are your deposits, here are your expenses, here's where you use the money, that kind of stuff. All of that will be on there, and all of that will be reported to the Social Security Administration. Same fraud prevention that's allowed. Like I said, our card is issued by Visa, so it's the same type of, and it does say right in the back, I made sure it was very clear, this card is for use with qualified disability expenses only, so that it's right on there so that people know that don't use this at my favorite three places. But yeah, it's on there so that everybody, and the card actually looks, let me see if I can show it to you real quick. This is the packet that you'll get with your card that says, here's your MiABLE debit card. And the card itself looks like this. So it's very, very clear. It's MiABLE. It's issued by the government. You can't see it because the thumb is over, but it's a Visa card. And you get a statement every quarter that says, these are the contributions you made, these are the investment choices that you made, these are where the money came from, this is what the money was used for, you know. It's not going to say necessarily specifically that it was used for milk and bread and butter, but it'll say it was used at Myers for $37.50. That's fine. It's fine here. Okay. I want to say this in front of the microphone. So the question is about security, and that is a significant concern for the state of Michigan, obviously, for our vendor, and for all of our potential customers. The bottom line is the state uses state-of-the-art security for all their transactions. All the reports that I have to send to the Social Security Administration have to be secure. and just like you said, we do have hack attempts all the time. But the bottom line is we have an entire department, our Department of Management and Information Technology, that is on this. I was on a conference call with them today talking specifically about where is the data housed, tell me about your hosting centers, tell me about your servers, your server capability, and all that type of stuff. So you're absolutely right. This is not a question for me. It's for my IT department. But the bottom line is I've got people that handle that. And it's the same sort of system that we've been utilizing for our 529 education program, same sort of system that we use for the state when we use credit cards. It's called PCI compliance. It's all in here as well. So I don't know what I can say or do that's going to make that any more palatable for you, but the bottom line is state of Michigan is very, very aware of internet security, and because we have to deal with this stuff all the time too. I work for the Department of Treasury. Trust me, we know. Yes, sir. Okay. Like I said, you should not use an MiABLE card for anything that is not a disability expense. So I would stay away from casinos, liquor stores, and adult establishments. Somebody help me out with this one. Yeah. There we go. Thank you. He figured it out. Yes, ma'am. Okay. The way that the banking industry, you are able to transfer money from bank to bank and from card to card and from account to account. It's the same sort of functionality that MiABLE will allow you to do. So you can move money right from your credit union into your MiABLE account just by putting in the correct numbers. Okay? Yes, ma'am, in the back. You've been really quiet back there. I haven't heard anything out of you. Everybody hear that question? The answer is yes. You will be able to set up recurring payments from any of the funding streams. So if you want to move money from your bank, from your checking account on a regular basis or your savings account on a regular basis, we are going to include that functionality. But just a little bit about my backstory. I work for the Michigan Department of Treasury. I've worked for the Michigan Department of Treasury for a number of years, and my day job is collecting student loans. Yeah, exactly. Nobody ever likes me after I tell them that. But the bottom line is, we know how to take money. We'll just say that, okay? So, yeah, we want to make it as easy and as simple as possible for people to contribute to these accounts because these accounts are important. These accounts are going to help a lot of people. So we want to make it as easy and as seamless as possible so that people can get money in these accounts and use the money for what they need it for. Yes, sir. Yeah. Yes. The question was about being able to have online access to your account. Yes, you'll be able to go online to look at, especially for fraud prevention and things like that. We want people to be able to access and say, I didn't use my card there. That's going to be, that functionality will be there as well. Think of this a lot like your regular bank account, your regular savings account, your regular investment account. Like I said, I work for the Department of Treasury, and I check my 401k probably way too much. But that functionality is there, just so people can keep track. Once again, this is a historically undereducated financially population. We want to change that, and this is a great way to do that. Yes, ma'am. I'll get you next. Yes. Exactly. The question is the account administrator will have full access to be able to see, be able to make transactions, things like that. Yes, ma'am. Where's the other shoe? Okay. No, you know what? Mm-hmm. Let me tell. Okay, this question has come up indirectly, but let me tell you how. Okay, and let me address your question. As I said, there are fees that are associated with investing. Okay, so if you invest in Fund X, that fund will have fees associated to it. They're all less than 1%, but there are fees associated to them. Now, let me take, for instance, the 529 education world, okay? Because it's there, okay? There are $5 billion in Michigan's 529 education program right now today. Take 1% of $5 billion and do the math. That's a lot of money. You are absolutely right. Here's the contra argument to that. Our vendor gets nothing. Zero. The state of Michigan is not paying for all that security that you know I were talking about. They're doing this based on future investment earnings. They're not getting a check from me. They're not getting a check from the state of Michigan. 100%. They are doing this at risk. TSA, absolutely. The TSA. Okay, this is once again, I'm getting into how the sausage is made, but here's the deal. The state of Michigan passed this law allowing individuals to create these accounts. I'm here doing outreach. I had to have signs made, all this kind of stuff. Legislation didn't give us any money to do this. So we have to do this on our own. Luckily, we found a partner in TSA that is willing to do the work for the websites, for the flyers and everything that we wouldn't have been able to do without their help. So the answer to your question is yes, they're going to make money off of this, but it's not money that's going to come out of the account. I mean, a $45 annual fee is My American Express card is almost double that. So it's not outside the realm of possibility. So now, as for your other question, what are we not being told? I know that historically the disabled population has been marginalized. So it's trying to be fixed. Like I said, and this is you bring up a great point. How many of you have ever had somebody from the Department of Treasury come conservatively 60 miles away to talk to you about a new program? Oh, what? You can say what now, right? That's one reason why we're doing this. I mean, you take a guy with a briefcase and a suit and a tie, and you take him 50 miles away, and he's an expert. But the bottom line is, this is a program that we feel is important, and we feel could benefit the population that it's targeting. But at the end of the day, you gotta trust us. You gotta trust us. And that's hard. It's that's fine. There's also a dedicated, yes, and that is. They're going to go grab 300,000. Right. You're first in the cable net. There would be fees for, like, if you lose your card, that kind of thing. But the bottom line is there's an enrollment, or excuse me, an annual fee. There's no enrollment fee, but there's an annual fee, and then based on the investments that you choose, there are fees associated with the cost of investing in those options. But like I said, they're all less than 1%. And I know where you're going, because I heard you say it earlier. Yes, that is correct. Yes. And one thing that this gentleman pointed out to me under his breath, but I'm going to say it right now, we are intentionally conservative, but the bottom line is these all have risk. They all have risk. If the market drops like it did in 2008, there is a potential for any or all of these funds to lose money. Something that is very, very clear in our participation and disclosure agreement that says these are investments. Investments have risk inherent in them. So we want to make very, very clear that that is a possibility, that these funds could lose investments. Except for the FDIC option. That is correct. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Go ahead.
I just have a question, which is typically if we have a first time mission perspective of it, which should they take from first?
Question is regarding Medicaid clawback and whether there is a priority for special needs trust versus an ABLE account. I do not know the answer to that one either. So that's, like I said, that's why I'm doing these. So ABLE versus special needs trust. Go ahead.
The $14,000, what happens if you get to that point and there's an extra, like some of the grandfathers who did this 510 years now, the $14,000 not allow for it?
That is exactly, the question is, how does it cap it at $14,000? There is a running total that's kept, all contributions, regardless of source. If that person is at $14,000, it will not allow them to make an additional contribution. So yes, it's capped. I had a question over here, I think. Sir? That is actually to the contractor. Our TSA office is, in addition to creating the website and helping with the card and the investments, they also have to man a customer service line for individuals who have questions, who have help. They are all trained in disability sensitivity so that they can help. Eventually, we also want to have an online chat function for individuals who have speech problems so they can chat directly with them. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, they can. Once again, they'll take the money over the phone. Absolutely. Oh. Yes, all contributions are tracked. So, like I said, you could have 10 different people contribute.
No. I'm saying, okay, Uncle Bob died, and on Saturday said, I want to give Joey the call. His call.
Oh, the card. Okay. That has nothing to do with this whatsoever. Nothing to do with this whatsoever. We deal only, and I'm going to use this term loosely, we deal with cash. We deal with money here. We're not talking about any property whatsoever. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Great question. The question was, with what frequency can you move money among different options? Number one, there is no limit to the number of times you can move money from an investment to the FDIC. On a limited basis, yes. However, there are, and that's just moving money out of the 4 investment accounts to the FDIC. However, because of the way the 529 legislation was written, because it mirrored the 529 education, you're limited to changing allocations twice per year. Why they limited it to twice per year, I don't have any idea, but it's the same as 529 education. I don't know why. There are no transaction fees. So his question is, if you have a broker who's just moving money around to earn the fees, that's not going to happen with an ABLE account, because number one, you're limited to twice a year anyway. So if he wanted to do that, he could do it twice a year, and that would be it. So I'm over my time. So if you got, I can wrap it up. I promise. Go ahead, man.
Actually, no. We have an 844 number. But yes, it is a toll-free number that will be on our website. Yes, ma'am. Yes. Great question.
The last question was, can SSI or SSDI be funded directly into an ABLE account? The answer is that is not available yet. Hopefully, after my call on Wednesday, we can figure out at least to start that conversation. There are some legal ramifications to the rep payee versus owner that they haven't figured out yet. So right now, no, maybe eventually. Thank you very much for your time. I'm sorry I kept you late, but I love to talk. Thank you.